So in this vlog, I am going to talk about my love for Jackson guitars and show my Jackson guitars collection. Now, I started playing when I was 13 years old, which was back in 1990. So I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s of music when shred guitar was really cool before the grunge era. So I had grown to love a lot of the stuff that was happening in the late 80s, the shred guitar that you could have, Poison, Motley Crue, Dawkins, Ozzy Osbourne always had great players. So I grew up around the really cool shred guitars, right? And watched much music quite often back then. So that had a big influence on me. And when I got started in playing guitar, I wanted to play cool guitars. So I actually didn't start playing Jackson guitars. I had actually played other brands, but it took a while before I actually got my first Jackson. And I'd always said that if I got into playing Jacksons, I'd want good ones, right? So my first one was actually a Randy Rhoads RR3 that I had, but before I'd gotten into getting those, the influence of the Jackson guitar. So some of the guys that really influenced me into playing, some of my guitar gods that got me influenced to playing were, of course, when Rust in Peace came out, you had Dave Mustaine and Marty Friedman playing their Black Jacksons, right? You had, Dave with his King V and you had Marty with his Kelly model. And I thought they were really cool. But even before then, you had guys in Anthrax, Scott Ian and Danny Spitz playing their Jacksons. And I loved Danny Spitz's Ninja Turtles Randy Rhoads that he had, the one with the single pickup. I thought that was such a cool looking guitar. If I ever got a replica made, I think I'd want to get that one made because it was just a cool guitar. And then, of course, Slayer, you had Jeff Hanneman, who, before he got endorsed with ESP, had a Jackson Soloist that he really loved, right? He played that even still when he had his ESP endorsement, though. So there's something to say that when you love a brand or you love a specific guitar, but you get endorsed by somebody else and you keep playing that brand. And that happened to the guys in Metallica. They were actually, before they joined ESP, they had both been given a Jackson guitar. James had been given a white King V, and Kirk had been given his black Randy Rhoads V, which everybody knows that he continued playing that Jackson V. Even though he was with ESP, he played that Jackson V for many years and still does to this day. And he has said on record that it is one of the best guitars he's ever owned. But he had decided to side with ESP at that time. And I think I believe some of the story was because Megadeth was using Jackson guitars and the fact that Dave was using a black King V, and James felt that playing a white King V, it's too much competitiveness in that way. So that's why he ended up going with the white Explorer style with ESP, which I think is an interesting little tidbit of history for people to know. So that's why during the Master of Puppets tour, James actually played that white King V just for The Thing That Should Not Be, because it was the one song in the C-sharp tuning that they played for that one song. So that's the only time you ever saw that song, or that guitar played live, was for that one song. And Kirk used, I think, a Fernandez red Super Strat on that. So anyway, and then also Andreas Kisser, Sepultura, even though he had a Charvel Super Strat that was sort of his mainstay, he also had a black and a white USA Rhodes models. He had gotten two of those, and I always thought those were really cool to have those guitars, right? So they looked cool. Jackson's always looked cool, but I had actually, when I had played one in high school and tried one out, a USA, I was very impressed by the playing, the quality, the frets, the fast neck to it, that I said I'd always want to get Jackson someday if I had the money, right? So of course, now that I've gotten older, I can afford to buy some things that that I can enjoy. I have no children, so to me, my guitars are my children. The only other child I say in my life besides my guitars is my dog, and that would be Jackson. So kind of interesting. I would name my dog as well after my favorite guitars, right? So even in the last while, I've spoken with other guitar brands, talked about endorsements and whatnot, and it's just I have to really believe in the brand if I'm not going to be playing Jacksons on pure and honestly, because I love Jackson so much, and I had approached them, and of course I'm not well known enough. I'm a nobody, but I will still keep playing the Jacksons because that's what I love to play, and I'm gonna keep doing that. All right, so the first guitar in my collection is my USA Kelly model. So I, of course, being a Marty Friedman lover, this guitar really talked to me when I picked it up. This is a stock USA, and it actually has the stock Seymour Duncans in it. Everything is stock. I use this for standard tuning. So anybody that's seen me play with Siren, this has been my main guitar for Siren since I started playing with them. I actually bought this guitar solely to play with Siren because we were using standard tuning and I wanted something a little different, something cool, something black. I actually was looking for a soloist and I ended up falling in love with this guy, and it is the best sounding guitar I've ever owned. I used this on a lot of the recordings. We recorded our Beyond the Depths album. I used this for all the rhythm guitar. Byron even had to use this on one of the tracks when we were doing the single for Paradise for Demise. We did the guitars with this one as well. So this is my stock Kelly, and definitely sounds amazing. My favorite one. This one I probably practice with the most as well. It gets a lot of play. I keep it with 9 to 46 SIT strings as well. That's my Kelly. All right, so this is my Mexican Dinky that I have. I got this in a trade. So this is probably around a 2010 model or so. Maple fretboard. It's a bolt-on neck. Really cool 3 bolts. Good access to play high. Not stock, as it originally had the EMG active pickups in it. In the trade, I actually didn't get any pickups in it. So I had actually... It's got the battery compartment in the back. I had actually tried Seymour Duncan Blackouts in it. Didn't care for the tone. And I tried these passives. So JB and a Jazz. And it actually sounds really good. So I've been using this as the backup to my Kelly model for Siren for a while. But I have been bringing it down, half step down for some of my original recording stuff. So really cool guitar. And then next we have the Jackson that I've always wanted to own. And this is Randy Rhoads RR1 USA. This is the one guitar I'd always wanted. And I was so happy when I actually got it. This one's in pretty good shape. I keep this guitar in different tunings. It jumps around. I've had it in drop C sharp, D standard, half step down. I've actually got it back up to standard again. It came with the original pickups that actually went into the Dinky. They had the Seymour Duncan JB and the Jazz. And I didn't care for the tone actually as much as the Kelly. The Kelly sounded great with those pickups, but this had just kind of a strange, in the low end, it just had almost a honky kind of tone. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to try the Blackouts. Sounds amazing with the Blackouts. So I absolutely love this with the Blackouts in it, with the actives. And yeah, otherwise stock other than the pickups. 9 to 46s is my main guitar string gauge. When I go to lower tunings, I actually use 10 to 52s. So, but this one I've used a lot too. I've used it on stage a few times with Siren actually too as well. So that's this is my number one I refer to a lot. And to complement the black one, I always wanted a white one. So this is my white one. This is identical. I actually had to order this one and had to wait 9 months for it to be made from the Jackson factory in California. Same tone I got with the stock Seymour Duncan pickup. So I've actually put the Blackouts in this one as well. And sounds exactly the same as the black one. I altered tunings with this one a bit too, but the main tuning I keep this is in half step down, which it still is. Everything else stock. I I love these guitars, the neck through, the access to the high frets is always great and consistent. I rarely have to adjust the neck on this. It's very well made. So, and I actually used this once on stage with Siren. Yeah. All right, and then the last one, I did this one in a trade, and this is another cool one. So, as I was saying about Danny Spitz, I always loved his Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one with the one pickup, and this is pretty much the same idea. And this is a Japanese. This is my drop C guitar. I've been using this mainly for drop C. Of course, I have the blackout in this one, and what's nice, it does have the battery compartment in the back too in this one. So this is a really cool guitar. I'd like to get a white one eventually of these. I keep this in drop C. I have used it on stage once for Siren, so I don't know. I might bring it back up in tuning again. Just no frills, one volume knob, and lots of dive bombs with the Floyd Rose system. Of course, neck through, same thing, nice high access. So that's my Japanese RR24. All right, but also, I've also got one more Jackson that I recently purchased. And this one is a Jackson bass. So a lot of people know I also play bass. I used to play bass in a Metallica tribute band, as well as play guitar over time in that band too. So this is a Spectra JS3, I think they call it. So a bolt-on neck, very simple. I've started using this for some of my recordings. I love the headstock on this. I'm not a big fan of the inline, same as the Jackson guitars headstock. I actually prefer this type of headstock, and I think it's great that they brought that back. I had actually been trying to find a John Campbell signature that they had, I don't know, like 5 to 10 years ago. Couldn't find one. So I'm glad that they came out with this. Sounds pretty good for an Indonesian-made bass. It's actually pretty cool. So that is my Jackson bass that I use in all my recordings now. Cool, eh? So anyway, so that's my collection. Will I purchase more in the future? Probably. I would like to get my hands on a soloist, a USA soloist at some point, just as an ultimate shredding guitar. The V's are different for sitting and practicing with, but great for stage. So that's why I play the Dinky and then the Kelly more for practicing, just because it's easy to sit in your lap and practice for hours on end. And that Kelly I've practiced so much on. That is the best guitar I've ever owned. Far down is that Kelly model. So anyway, till next time, I think I'm going to have another vlog coming up. I'm actually going to talk about my history from Sault Ste. Marie and how growing up there and the music scene that we had there, which was a really cool music scene. And maybe I'll go through that. So anyway, till next time, shred on.